Welcome back. I am getting ready to start my first project using the March Cards, Tags, and More kit from Tres Jolie. If you haven't seen already, this starts out with a nice tag theme. There is a little pack of artist trading tags from Graphic 45 in ivory, 12 tags, and the ring that goes with it, some pastel brown fluid chalk ink, quick dry fluid chalk ink, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't know why it's called pastel brown. I just call it tan, but well, nobody asked my opinion on the naming, so I guess we can stick with pastel brown. There are these two, not really frames, but ornate chipboard pieces here from Tres Jolie chipboard pieces. A pack of pink little birdie flowers. And then the 6x6 paper pad and die cut pack, chipboard die cut pack from Stamperia's Garden of Promises line. Quite a few pieces in here of that chipboard. And then the 6x6 paper pad. And I've already kind of thought through. I'm going to take this apart right now just to have it ready to go. So what I was thinking for my first project was using the little tag booklet or the ATC Tag ring thingy, covering them with the paper, making a few flaps. I don't know if they will all have flaps or not. But that being said, I need to make sure my paper is going to be on here nicely. I want to be able to plan how it's going to look. So I just grabbed up, this is just a piece of packaging, pretty sturdy plastic packaging. Even though there were original creases here, and I'm not worried about the creases so much because I want to also be able to make sure my flaps are how I want, so that I know where everything's folding. Does that make sense? I know that Graphic 45 makes dies in the size of their tags. Well, I know they make the big ones, and like the smaller ones are about like so, I think. Anyways, I don't know if they make ATC size ones, and even if they did, I don't own it. And even if I owned it, it wouldn't work for this, because I want to take flaps into consideration. So I am just going to trace my tag shape. I'm going to make a template. That way I can see through it to line it up on my paper. I will know what pictures are coming out of where. I will know where holes go, and I will be able to hopefully line things up better. It doesn't have to be perfect because the cutting's not likely going to be perfect. I'll be distressing my edges, inking my edges. So I wasn't overly cautious. I put a second one in so that regardless of which way I have my my template, I will know about where the fold is for any flaps. I put the dashed lines, just eyeballed them across here, so that on the flap pieces, because the flap pieces won't need the eyelet hole, I'll know approximately where to make those marks. And there they are. Pretty good eyeballing, I think. You know, quickie template here is just going to be a matter of cutting out these circles, because I will want those out, most definitely. I'm just going to punch a small hole in there and cut it out with scissors. Carefully cut it out with scissors. Maybe think of something else when it gets down to the paper, but I'll see how things are looking. It's not really too difficult. Even with this larger pair of scissors, it's not all that difficult once I have a little pilot hole started. Okay, I have started cutting out a few of my double width ones, double width, just to get them done. The bottom of, hold on there. It was the bottom of this sheet, or the top of, it was something. I decided I didn't want to cover up or hide either one of these, so I made them wider, and I am just going to score them and make flaps. But I just wanted to show how I use my little doodad here. It was the same process across all of them. I lined up what I wanted to show. That way I could see exactly how things were going to come out. And I think I like that as the front on this one. And then I just grabbed a pencil up and rough traced. So this is the flat side. I should put that like that. This will be against the tag. And I just rough trace where I would want to cut. And let me verify here. Make sure I remember what I'm doing. And then just cut it on out. And then, same as I did for the template, make a pilot hole that I can stick my scissors through. All right. And then for my scoring, I'm not going to try to line it up against the edges. I'm going to try to line up, more or less line up the 2 points on, or the 2 where it goes in, at the top and the bottom. Eyeball it as all I'm doing. And then, so that the little bump is on the inside of the fold. And I'm just going to start roughing my folds together and seeing how they line up on the cards that I am putting them on. And then if I have to do any kind of extra trimming, I will. Those were rough templates, mostly to get me started, just giving me a little something to work with. Can round my corners a little bit. I'm not cutting it quite even because on all of these I will be distressing my edges. Then once I have my pieces cut and distressed how I want them, and I like how they're looking on their tags, I'm just going to grab up the ink from the kit, and you could just go directly on the edge with the chalk ink, or because I like how brushes go on, I like how they look, I am going to brush mine. Now, I like to reinforce hinges. So what I did is cut off a length of that seam binding. Yeah, seam binding. I cut off the main piece I needed, just adding up all the edges I would be reinforcing. It will be just like this, or maybe on the inside. You know, I can't really decide if I want it inside or outside. Inside. Definitely inside. Maybe a mix, but probably most definitely inside. I'm going to stitch it in place. I'm not going to put any glue under it so it doesn't soak in, or soak through, I should say. I will just stitch it directly on, running a simple straight stitch just down the sides on each half. I have a few of my tags just paper clipped together with what layers are going to be there. I'm just trying to get an idea of the layout right now before I finish distressing up all my edges. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 completed that have flaps on one side, and then just a single background piece on the other. My length of ribbon for my flaps, some reinforcement on those flaps. Then I was thinking, I don't want flaps on all of them, on all of the sides, because it's a 1-inch ring. I had strips of printer paper left over from last month's heart album when I made the strips of the different pattern papers and used them for the backgrounds on my pages. And then I also happened to find a partial cut of an adhesive sheet. I had this much, this weird shape of adhesive sheet left. So I laid my partial strips of just my leftover printer paper onto one side of that adhesive sheet. It still has the backing on it. And I have cut down 7 rectangles that fit that size. From the pages that I had already cut into, I cleaned up some of the rounded edges and straightened up at least one side of them. And I am just going to do the same thing that I did on my heart album and lay strips down. Using the partial adhesive sheet I had found is just going to make this go faster. But I will tell you, if you don't have non-stick sewing machine needles, you're not going to want to put it through your sewing machine. You really, really won't want to. I have my tags stacked together and set aside, and my pieces clipped to them that I've decided more or less how they're going to go together. So that's ready for me to finish just trimming down those collage pieces. I have a few of the phrases cut out from the cut apart sheet. I don't know exactly where they'll be going in. I just picked out ones that I wanted to use in here. And I have some of the chipboard pieces that will be going in here. I picked out the majority of the bigger ones and just left the smaller pieces for this. And then these little 3 bookmarkish looking pieces, I wanted to add in as just little pull downs, that unfold. I'm going to use just some linen hinging tapes, 1 1/4 inch originally, but I cut off the 1/4 inch there. It was a strip that I had misplaced in a previous project, and when I found it, I decided I'm going to use it up. You could use the seam binding also that was in the kit, or tape or some kind of reinforcement I would recommend. And I'm going to just stick it on the backs of these. I'm going to try to make it about even. This is 9 inches and these are 4 inches, and I'll just center it. I kind of know where I want my bins at, so it's not a big deal. And I'll attach them at the top to the tag page they're going on. And the reason I'm kind of covering this all now is because I figured I'd cover all the bits and pieces, get all of my pieces ready to go into the sewing machine before taking it all over there. I have my strips on the back, just eyeball centered them on there. I'm going to add my score lines where I'm going to want it kind of folded up. And then, since I just had that weird random 1/4 inch strip cut off, I used it in the center of these little pieces here because I'm going to fold them like books. Fold them over, just fold them in half. I have pieces made up on these that I made so they could fold up in there. After I get everything ready, I will probably just come in, use some of these chipboard pieces as their handles, as their little tabs, I guess. Maybe the butterflies on each one, since I have 3 blue butterflies. So it would be just something like that on the book page. These chipboard pieces, they have pre-punched holes in them. There, they have pre-punched holes in them, and I'm pretty sure they're 1/8 inch or so. Anyways, I can probably finagle a 1/8 inch eyelet in there. I have some muted neutral colors, and I am just going to stick with creams because of the ivory colored tags. Well, they're not quite 1/8 inch, so I'll just, one way or another, those 1/8 inch eyelets are going in these tags. That's all I have to say about that. It'll just be little plaques in there. All right, so since the next bit is kind of really rather just tedious, I will finish distressing, finish inking, use some glue to tack them in place, and then take them over to my sewing machine. And actually, you know what? I will be right back. I will do one up for my example. Okay, new plan. I will just go do these real quick. That way I can just come back and go on to talking about the final decoration and assembly. I will do one of each, more or less one of each. This is one that I didn't want to hide the flowers, so I just made it a little door. It will get this as reinforcement, the same as my one-piece flaps. And I will do my front cover because it just has the pieced together parts. I will get this cut down, distressed, and inked real quick, and then do the assembly, or do the stitching on them, and then come back and just kind of explain all that. Okay, just to give an overview of what the rest of this process is going to look like, I will just be adding some stitching. I thought about stitching all the way around the circle, but I don't think I'm going to. It's really kind of a tedious process just going above the top, so I don't hit the eyelet. I just kind of hand crank my sewing machine around there. So I think that it will just go around the perimeter, all of the stitching. And then this being my front, I am just going to adhere this chipboard on here pretty good. I thought about stitching it on, but I didn't want to, because I wanted to add a little bit of decorative stitching to the edges of the chipboard piece, but not have it too bulky under the other side of the tag. So there's just a little bit of decorative, and by decorative it's just some zigzag stitching. For the back sides, I leave one side plain. I stitch one background on first, and then that way it is the top side of the stitching on both sides showing instead of, all together. And it doesn't really make that big of a difference. It's just that the holes are a little rougher on the side the needle comes out. This was one that was a solid piece, and then just scored and folded over. This tag is the one where I made the door separate because I liked the flowers on this side, and I wanted it to go the way I wanted it to go. I just stitched along both sides. And are some of my holes off and some of my pieces wonky? Yes. Do I care? No, not really, because like I said, I like that put together look. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using two glues, and I could easily just use the art glitter glue, is I just need to use up the glue sticks. I had some glue sticks and I wanted to use them up. That's basically my reason. And then I just use that art glitter glue for detail work. So there are 3 of 12, and that's going to be my process. So I am just going to finish distressing and inking and stitching and gluing. Once I have all of this meticulous, tedious kind of stuff done, and then I will be back and just talk about these little final details. I am to the final stretch. Finally to the final stretch. I just, started stacking them on the ring as I stitched through them, just to keep track of them. They're not completely put together yet. It is just a matter now of gluing on a few of the sides and adding a few flowers. My stitching is complete, and I just have to do those little things and decide exactly the order I want to put things Now, I didn't have any rhyme or reason on what I put where. I just started placing things, and if it looked right, that's where it went. So now I'm kind of putting a little bit more thought into the order. I'm putting them on the rings a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. Kind of separating them little, well, separating the ones that have the big fold outs a little bit with some of the other ones. I had only really thought about my front and my back. I wanted to make sure that none of the flaps or folds were on the outside, front or back. So there it is, and it still even closes. Barely, but it does. I didn't really have a plan or a very specific end result. I kind of just thought it would be, I just thought it could be, you know, a little motivational. A lot of the quotes in here are very motivational quotes. There are places where photos could go if the quote, you know, if you would want to put that, if the quote quarter or works with it with you, whatever, you know. It could be a little tag flip album. It could just be a little motivational tag album. Really anything. I just liked the quotes and liked the little ATC size tags. So I just stuck things together. Now, even though this is really very full, I'm going to see if there's any place left in here that I would want to add. Maybe a chipboard flower or two. The back side of the front one says, hope surrounds us. And I actually did think through my back cover so that the large chipboard hope surrounds us would be back there. So I actually did kind of make it so that the hope surrounds us would surround all of the inner tags. On this one, just to help hold it together better, because this is just the pattern paper and then this is chipboard, I stitched the chipboard and the little square together and then glued them down onto the front of this flap. On the butterflies at the ends of my little poles, I ran stitching through. For this one, I just went straight up and down the center. And then for the other two, I tried to follow a couple of the line or of the wing lines, the lines on the wings. On the little booklety ones, I stitched around the back of them, the inside of them. I stitched it to the tag background before gluing it down, and that was just to help hold it and, you know, add a little texture there. All of the chipboard pieces that I added the eyelets to, I did just go ahead and add the eyelets and then glue them on, because I'm pretty sure all of them are on a flap, and I didn't want to go all the way through, so I just added the eyelets, glued it. You can see for this butterfly, I did try to kind of follow the design on there. I stitched all the way down. I stitched it all the way down on the part that was stuck to the page or stuck to the background. And that was, well, just to hold it, really. Plain and simple, just to hold it. The same thing on this butterfly. If it will focus on the butterfly, I just ran my stitching with the design, help it blend in just a little bit. Stitched down the part that is being used to attach the whole thing. And then I'm just going to go back to this one because it has the smaller bit. You can see it's really, it's not a lot held to the page because this was only 3 inches and it covered this one. And then when I decided to add this extra bend, I just put a small piece of that linen hinging tape on that hinge and stitched that little bit right there on down. And there you have it. Just a little tag album, ATC tags or ATC size tags with little bit of motivational quotes on them. There's still places where pictures could be added if you wanted to. It's interactive a bit. Places that you can pull out and reveal the little quote in there. Flips, small places if you wanted to write, well, if you can write really small. I don't write really small well. I don't do it well. I would probably be more inclined to type it out and then glue it in. Another one of those little flips here, reinforced with some of that seam binding from the kit this month. This one, this butterfly just folds down. I just liked this chipboard cluster. My biggest reason for putting that one on was I liked it, which is the biggest reason for doing any of this, right? Because you like it. But I did also, I only stitched it along the side, and it actually would serve as a tuck spot underneath. Just a few bits of the chipboard for decoration. Some pieces are just cut out fully from the pattern paper, and some of my backgrounds are pieced together from the scraps because I don't like having a bunch of little scraps if I can work them in some way. So I hope that you enjoyed this project and it gave you some ideas of what you can do with that graphic 45 ATC album. I don't know if it's technically called an album, but ATC Tag booklet, album, green booklet thingy. That's what that is. And the Stamperia papers and chipboard from the kit this month. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up and feel free to share this video. Thank you, and I will see you again next week.